Thanks for watching Crokinole Center. We're coming at you today with another strategy analysis video, and it's from the 2013 Scenic City Crokinole Classic, and we're looking at the semifinal between Nathan Walsh and Louis Gauthier. Now, this is a sort of memorable semifinal on what is an overall kind of a forgotten Crokinole tournament. The reason why this tournament isn't too well remembered is because there was a massive snowstorm in Ontario that day, which prevented over half of the intended competitors from actually arriving. I think the tournament would be a little bit more well remembered if more people had attended it, but a massive snowstorm kept a lot of people away. Now, this strategy analysis video isn't going to be as in-depth as the last one because of exactly what you're seeing right here, right now, which is that the players were sort of so on fire with their open 20 shooting that there really wasn't much in the way of critical strategy analysis that was required for the players. This match actually featured not one but two perfect rounds, and we're looking at the very first one right here, which is quite rare. I think it might be the only time that's been captured on the Crokinole Center cameras. Because the players are scoring so many open 20s, there's really not much room for strategy analysis. But the one piece of strategy analysis we're going to look at very shortly was pretty interesting, and it was one of the rare times that we see this strategy executed successfully. So as we see Louis Gauthier finalize off that first perfect round of the match. So we'll skip ahead now to the second round of the third game. Now the format for this event is a little bit hard to explain, but I'll summarize that all that was needed for Louis Gauthier to win the match was to get 4 points in the third game. So he already won the first 2 points without the hammer, and Nathan Walsh already missed his first open 20 shot. So Walsh has to at least get a tie in this second round to keep the match alive. And he's already up against it. And right now he's trying to find a way to hide on Gauthier, try to get a miss out of him so he can get back to shooting open 20s. First hide, Gauthier is able to execute well. Second hide, Walsh puts in a fantastic spot here. But Gauthier again successfully nails it. So now Walsh can try to hide again, but just with the position of this black disc, it's tough to get the takeout and then to get a hide as good as his last hide, which Gauthier was able to take out. So now Walsh is considering that if Gauthier is going to be able to make these takeouts on these well-hidden discs, maybe he should change strategy, which is what he goes for here. So Walsh goes for and is able to successfully make a pretty nice sort of assist play where he set himself up pretty well for a 20. Now this in and of itself is not very rare. We see it quite a lot in the doubles game. So here, just to show a quick example, is from the 2015 World Championships in the playoffs. And we see Barry Kiggins shooting now. He's going to make a similar assist play, which we see quite a bit in doubles. Now in singles, there's an extra wrinkle though, because you see in doubles that Kipper and Walsh take little short discussion here where they're discussing if they could possibly ruin that nice setup that Barry Kiggins has now left for himself in terms of scoring a 20. And it's harder to do so in doubles because the angles just don't work out. You're shooting from the side. You can't make the play toward the middle to sort of ruin a shot there. So we see, and we're coming up in the next couple of shots, as Barry Kiggins is able to, even though he was making that assist shot for John Conrad, his partner, he's able to take the 20 for himself. Now, in singles play, it's a little bit more difficult to pull off an assist play because your opponent really has a pretty good chance to sort of ruin your nice setup. But there's also an extra wrinkle in terms of that makes the strategy a little bit more double-edged, is that you can also get a very nice hide on the disc that you just left. So let's take a look at Louis Gauthier's options. So option number one would be to come through Hogan's Alley, which Louis Gauthier might want to do because he literally just made this exact shot. So certainly you would have some confidence to pull it off. But this shot's off the table because his own disc is now blocking his way due to Nathan Walsh's last shot. Now, option number two would be to make a combination shot off his own disc to then get at this red disc and then to make the takeout there. However, this shot is basically, I'm not going to say impossible, but extremely difficult because of the placement of that red disc. Now, if the disc was just a little bit more out in the open, let's say here, then I think this is a shot that Louis Gauthier would definitely take, and it would be a shot that a lot of top players would go for in this situation, even if the disc was just not quite that far out in the open, but say like a little bit tighter to the peg. However, with the disc in this position, this is basically well, I'm not going to say an impossible shot, but extremely difficult and very risky. Of course, the risk here with this shot is when you go for this combination shot. If you don't make contact with this red disc, you're going to lose not only your shooter but also your other disc on the boards, which would be horrendous because you'd be leaving Walsh with now a disc on the board and an open 20 shot. So then even if Walsh makes that open 20, then you're shooting across the board. You have to peel so that, and then which will give Walsh another chance to make a 20. He'll definitely be in the driver's seat to win the round. So I think the shot would be great to take because Walsh has a pretty nice 20 chance here to come in off and make this 20. I think it's pretty routine for a lot of top players to make that shot. So it would be ideal to make this combination shot to take away that easy 20 for Walsh, but it's really just not an option because of the placement of that red disc is almost atomically perfect for Walsh right now. So that really just leaves the third option here for Louis Gauthier. And really option 3 comes with sort of 2 sub options. So the first, obviously, he's going to be taking the placement here, this bottom disc, and going to be trying to take this shot here on this red disc. Now with this, he really has 2 ways to take it. The first is that he could try to go for the takeout and stick, which is really hard because he can't see too much of that red disc. And the second thing he could try to do is to just peel. Just take the red disc off, go at full speed. You're going to lose your shooting disc, but just accept that as part of the result of this shot. Now, of course, he would want to make the takeout and keep his shooting disc on because then, if Walsh has that one chance to make a nice easy 20 there, Louis Gauthier can respond with an open 20, and then Louis Gauthier is still in the driver's seat because he's got that one extra disc on, and Walsh isn't going to have another open 20 afterwards. But if he just goes for the takeout, if he goes for the peel, he's not leaving himself open to really the biggest downside of this shot, which is, if say he goes for this takeout and stick, but he isn't able to take the red disc off the board. So with those options, he kind of has one option, which is to give Walsh a little bit of breathing room and to just go for the peel. And the second is to take the round into his own hands a little bit more and to try to go for the takeout and stick. So now we'll see what Louis Gauthier goes for, and it looks like he was going for the takeout and stick, and he's actually just really unlucky that he just barely loses his shooter, and he just does not push the red disc far enough that it stays on the boards. This is a perfect position for Walsh. But you can't believe that it worked out so nicely for him. He makes the takeout 20. That red disc is still on the board, so now Gauthier peels, and now it's open to Walsh, who from behind there just had things just go perfectly for him now with the open 20 opportunity, which he's able to convert. So the strategy just works out beautifully for Nathan Walsh that he gets, not only that perfect hide, but that perfect setup too for that takeout 20. So using this strategy, which was kind of like a self-assist plus a nice guard for his own disc, worked out great. And the only thing that you can really fault Louis Gauthier on was just maybe if he had went for the peel, rather than trying to go for the takeout and stick, then at least after Walsh made that takeout 20, he would have been in an open 20 race and in a good position, or still with a nice potential to tie the round rather than the 2 points going towards Nathan Walsh. So before you get any ideas that, this is a great strategy that everybody should do, I do want to show us some examples of where the strategy didn't work out. And thankfully, we don't have to go too far to find one where Nathan Walsh really does not come across looking like too much of a genius here. So this is from the 2017 Ontario Singles Championship between Nathan Walsh and Justin Slater. And of course, if you know the history of the Ontario Singles Championship, you know that Nathan Walsh likely does not win this final against Justin Slater. So here's an example. Walsh is down in this particular round, and there's actually 2 black discs on the board, and he's thinking to himself, you can actually set up a pretty nice guard here behind potentially 2 black discs. So let's see how his first attempt plays out for him. And he overhits it, and he doesn't get the assist, and he sort of leaves his shooting disc wide out in the open, so now he's facing 3 black discs and is really in a hole that's much too far to come out of, because even if Slater makes a mistake there or is forced to peel, Walsh is left with no 20 opportunity on his next shot. So there's one example where this strategy for Walsh If he had made it, hey, perhaps it would have worked out great. He could have got back into this round, but upon missing it, he basically digs himself a hole that he cannot come out of. And that was not the first time that was not the only time that Walsh tried that in this final here. He tried it again coming up right now. Again, looking at 2 black discs, trying to set up a nice assist and a nice guard. And makes a pretty big mistake there. Doesn't even touch the black disc. I guess he overhit the last one, so now he underhits this one and doesn't even make contact. Slater makes him pay with the open 20. And now again, Walsh is in a position where goes again for this play and is completely unsuccessful and has now dug himself again. Repeating myself, but a hole that he cannot climb out of by attempting this strategy. And to make matters worse, Walsh actually tried for this strategy one more time. So really, on the analogy of digging yourself a hole, it really feels like if you miss this once, you're kind of forced to try it again and again and again. So here, Walsh going for the 3rd time to try to bump up that red disc, but he overhits it this time. Slater's got enough room to the outside to make the takeout. And actually, in fact, even on Slater missing that shot here, Walsh has not left him in a position where he's going to win this round, even with getting a mistake out of Justin Slater. So once again, to underscore that even though it worked out in one situation for Walsh, you can go to one other match and it failed on him 3 different times. And just to close out this video, we'll just show the very final match, the very final round of the semifinal match from Owen Sound, and really just to underscore what was the difference in the match if you go back to watch it, and there's links in the description to watch the whole match if you want to. The big difference really was just that even with all the open 20 success between the 2 players, Louis Gauthier was a decent margin better on the open 20s. Walsh's success throughout the match was just shy of 70%. And Gauthier's was north of 80%, which is a pretty spectacular success rate. And he was also perfect. Didn't make a single mistake in the last 3 rounds of the match. So when it was a very tightly contested match, Gauthier was flawless in the critical moments at the end. And he would go on after this semifinal to win the championship against Fred Slater for this tournament and to win his first NCAA title.